You ever wake up, take that first sip of coffee, and realize your American dream just turned into somebody else's racetrack? Yeah, that happened. Picture this, 3 months straight. Every single morning, I'd stand at my window and watch this white BMW X5 roar across my corner lot, carving deep tracks through my $2,000 Kentucky bluegrass, like she was qualifying for Daytona. My name's Marcus Thompson, 52, union electrician, not the kind of guy who lets things slide, especially when it comes to what I've worked 3 decades to build. Now, my wife, Sarah, she's got early Parkinson's. Our little slice of Millbrook Heights was supposed to be a sanctuary, a place to heal, just the two of us, a patch of green to replace the open roads she can't drive anymore. I put everything into that lawn, premium seed, irrigation with timers, I wired myself, the whole 9 yards. Every morning before all this mess, I'd stand outside with my coffee, watching the sprinklers hiss and the grass thicken, feeling like maybe, finally, I could breathe. But that dream, well, it went up in exhaust fumes the day Karen Whitmore decided my land was just the fastest way to her McMansion. She's the kind of neighbor that makes you question if karma's on permanent vacation, drives a BMW with a custom plate just so you don't forget who you're dealing with. First day, tire tracks, deep as ditches. Day 2, same time, same mess. Day 3, I put up a sign, she tore it down. Talked to her face to face, got threatened. Called the police, civil matter, they said. You know what I mean? I even put up a camera. All it caught was her flying through at 7:47 a.m. on the dot, like clockwork, as if she owned the road and my dreams were just collateral damage. What she didn't know? I'm not just an electrician, I'm a problem solver. 30 years of putting things exactly where they're supposed to be. So that weekend, I made my move. I spent Saturday at Tony's Hardware, loaded up on floodlights, motion sensors, enough wiring to make the Vegas Strip jealous. By Sunday night, my property line lit up like Broadway. Every time her BMW hit that sensor, 8 blinding lights snapped on, turning her morning joyride into a scene from Close Encounters. Did it stop her? Not a chance. Next morning, she blasted the horn, cussed out the world, and plowed through anyway. Wednesday, I added surveillance signs, private property, under electronic monitoring. Thursday night, I caught her on camera dressed in all black, kicking over my lights. Like a toddler on a rampage. Here's where my experience paid off. I'd installed backup batteries, so while she thought she was pulling off a stealth mission, every stomp and curse got captured in full HD. Friday morning, HOA complaint in my mailbox, signed by Karen herself. Excessive lighting, safety hazard, disturbing the peace. I nearly laughed. Called my insurance guy, filed a vandalism claim. That's when Tony, the hardware guy, introduced me to Mrs. Patterson, a 78-year-old legend with a notebook full of dates and times, every run-in she'd ever had with Karen. Turns out, half the neighborhood was fed up. But here's the twist. My insurance investigator comes by, starts measuring, and pauses at my property markers. You might want to get a survey done, he says. That metallic taste in your mouth when you know something big is about to break? Yeah, that. So I call Pete, an old union buddy turned surveyor, and head down to the county office myself. Buried in those dusty records, I find an original 2019 survey. Shows my land runs a good 12 feet further than those markers say. But there's a 2020 amendment, signed by Karen's husband Derek. He'd corrected the lines, gave Karen a few extra feet for her daily shortcut. Pete and his crew come out, lasers, spray paint, the works. Turns out, I actually own 18 more feet than I thought. Karen's been trespassing again, hissing about how people like me don't belong in her neighborhood. But here's the thing. She'd made it personal, and I know how to make things permanent. Next move, I get a real estate attorney, Sarah Kim, sharp as a wire stripper, who lays it out. Systematic fraud, criminal trespass, grounds for a lawsuit that could bankrupt them. But I didn't want court drama. I wanted a solution. So I asked, what if I installed a decorative concrete bollard, just for landscaping? Perfectly legal, she says, as long as it's inside your line. So I engineer it, 5 feet deep, rebar, commercial grade, placed right where Karen's will hits every morning. Installation day feels like Christmas. Miguel's crew mixes concrete. Mrs. Patterson brings cookies. Neighbors cheer. By Monday, the bollard's set, plaque reading Maple Grove Memorial Garden. To anyone else, it's landscaping. To Karen, it's destiny. That morning, Karen barrels around the corner, hits the bollard full speed. The sound, man, that sound, metal on concrete, a BMW folding in on itself. I step outside with my coffee, she's screaming about sabotage. Police show up, Officer Rodriguez, professional. Tape measure out, measures the distance. Ma'am, you're trespassing. That's private property. She calls Derek, he doesn't even show. Tow truck hauls her car off, and she swears revenge. But you know how bullies operate, they escalate. 2 days later, a yellow excavator rolls up. Emergency utility work. I call the gas company, the water company, nobody's scheduled. Turns out, Karen bribed the operator to destroy my bollard, but I catch the whole thing on video, and when police show up, the operator flips, plays the recording. Karen offering him $10,000 to make it look like an accident. Next thing, she's in cuffs, fraud, vandalism, conspiracy, the works. City council meeting, standing room only, TV cameras everywhere. Karen's attorney tries to spin it, but their own argument blows up. They admit she'd established a traffic pattern on my property. Sarah Kim presents the surveys, video evidence, everything. The council dismisses my fines, supports my rights. Then, plot twist, FBI steps in. Turns out Derek's been running survey fraud in 4 counties, stealing land worth millions. They arrest Karen and Derek, and the whole scheme unravels. 6 months later, Karen's in federal prison. Derek's lost his business, and the neighborhood? It's never been better. I used my settlement to start the Neighborhood Justice Fund, helping families fight back against contractor fraud, HOA abuse, and petty tyrants. Mrs. Patterson became our coordinator. The Garcias opened a coffee shop where Karen's retaining wall used to be. And my wife's garden is the envy of the block. The bollard still stands, decorated with flowers, a symbol that sometimes the only way to protect your home is to dig deeper, literally. We turned our mess into a movement, our frustration into a force for good. And let me tell you, justice has never tasted so sweet. So now it's your turn. Drop your wildest HOA story or neighbor nightmare in the comments. Where are you watching from? What would you do if someone tried to steal your piece of the American dream? Hit like, subscribe, and let's build a community where the good guys finally win. Because when you stand your ground, sometimes you end up building something that lasts forever. Thing is, in the months after Karen's empire crashed and burned, you'd think life would just settle into some peaceful, easy routine. But let me tell you, there's a kind of echo that hangs over a neighborhood after something like that. Some mornings I'd catch myself standing by that famous bollard, coffee in hand, half expecting to see a white BMW ghost by on 3 wheels or hear Karen's voice, shrill as ever, drifting on the breeze. But all I got was the sound of kids laughing again, sprinklers hissing, and Sarah humming while she picked fresh thyme from her garden bed. It's funny, you know, once the big bad's gone, little problems start coming out of the woodwork, like they'd been hiding, waiting for the coast to clear. Mrs. Patterson's notebook didn't close after Karen's sentencing. If anything, she doubled down. Now she's the official community historian. We found out Karen wasn't the only one playing games with property lines. Another developer tried to sneak an extra 10 feet onto the edge of the Garcias Cafe lot, hoping nobody'd notice. Only this time, our crew was ready. We organized a community survey day, neighbors with tape measures, Pete running his laser, everybody pitching in. The developer backed off so fast he left his survey flags behind. One evening, a new family moved into what used to be Karen's McMansion. Young couple, 2 little boys, big plans and nervous smiles. I walked over with a welcome basket, homemade bread from Mrs. Martinez, a jar of Sarah's herb salt, and, yeah, a copy of Pete's original property survey. Just in case, I told them, and they laughed, but not as hard as when Mrs. Patterson handed them a folder labeled Neighborhood Survival Guide. It felt good, like we were passing on hard-won wisdom, not just warnings. But life's never all roses, is it? There was this neighborhood, checking in on the folks who need it most. I find Dave Henderson. Remember him? Lost 8 feet of his yard to Karen's scam, standing in his kitchen with water pouring through his ceiling. Roof repair money never came after last year's storm. thanks to some fly-by-night contractor Derek once vouched for. We get to work, just like old times, me, Dave, and Tony from the hardware store patching leaks by lantern light, kids handing us tools, neighbors brewing emergency coffee on camp stoves. The next morning, the power's back, the roof's dry, and somehow everyone's in better spirits than they were before the storm. Dave shakes my hand and says, "Marcus, after all we've been through, I finally feel like we've got a real neighborhood here." You know what? He's right. Now, I never planned on becoming the unofficial property rights consultant for Millbrook Heights, but one call leads to another. Folks from 3 towns over start emailing, asking about survey rights. Sheet, Mrs. Patterson keeps notes, and Pete loves breaking out his survey gear for show and tell. It's the sort of small-town magic you see in old movies, but never expect to find in real life. And if you think Karen's story scared off every would-be troublemaker, think again. The world's always got one or two more. Last week, a fancy SUV started parking just a little too close to the corner, blocking Sarah's new raised beds. This time, instead of a one-man standoff, the whole block showed up. 5 lawn chairs, 3 dogs, and an audience of curious kids, watching as Mrs. Patterson politely informed the owner that, according to Section 8 of City Code, complete with printed paperwork, they were in violation. Problem solved, no drama, no shouting, just neighborly persistence. But the real heart of all this? It's Sarah. The woman who once barely left the house is now out in her garden every day, swapping recipes with neighbors, laughing so loud you'd swear. She never had a worry in her life. She started an herb club. First meeting, 10 people showed up. By the 3rd month, they were trading seeds, swapping stories, and organizing a neighborhood dinner. That spilled into the street. I'd sit back on my porch, watching folks share food and laughter, thinking how close we came to losing it all because one entitled person thought the world was her. Shortcut. Sometimes I wonder if Karen ever thinks about us, sitting wherever she is now, counting the days on a concrete wall instead of a garden fence. Maybe she blames me. Maybe she blames everyone but herself. Doesn't matter. The point is, she's gone, and we're still here, building something solid, something that lasts. Every morning I still take that slow walk across my lawn. Steam rising from my mug, sun hitting the bollard just right so the bronze plaque gleams like a promise kept. Kids ride their bikes in safe circles. The Garcia's Cafe is bustling, Sarah's herbs spill over the beds like green waves, and neighbors greet each other by name instead of suspicion. My hands might be a little more calloused, my hair a little grayer, but my heart's lighter than it's been in years. So here's my question to you. Have you ever had to fight for your corner of the world? Have you ever stared down a bully and come out the other side with a story worth telling? Drop your experience down below. Let's see who else is out there standing their ground. And if you want more tales of ordinary folks facing down extraordinary odds, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and ring the bell. Because as long as there are bullies and bureaucrats, there'll be someone, somewhere, digging deep foundations for justice. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you.